We speak on a very powerful saying in the yogic tradition. It's actually in the tantric yogic tradition. It's there in one of the dialogues between Shiva and Shakti, Shiva and Parvati. Smaranaath Mukti. Remembrance is liberation. The correct kind of remembering, or the correct kind of insightful recognition, which is actually what Smarana means. Smaran means to remember, but it is also in yogic context, it means sort of insightful recognition into what is true and not what is partial or incomplete or deluded. Smaran karna, or which is why the Nataraja dances on the apasmara, the amnesia, the dwarf of, it is the enemy of insight. It's not the amnesia, it is actually the apasmara, that is whatever is not smarana, whatever is not insightful recognition, whatever is not, because liberation or enlightened is not something that you actually attain. I mean, you can say you attain because you have to work to get to that point, but it is more a recognition, oh, this was always so. But because of my conditioning, because of my karma, because of my limitations, I was not seeing it. So, in that sense, it is correct. Smaranaath Mukti. When you realize that you have been deluded in your thinking, deluded in your behavior, misidentified in all that, and missing the point entirely of existence, that is the moment you are liberated. It usually, that's why in many schools it is called the cosmic joke, because when you get that, what normally happens is that the person starts laughing uncontrollably. It happened to Master Charles also. They went to Muktananda and said that American disciple of yours is sitting on the rock and laughing, and he said, let him laugh, he's just got it. He was just sitting on that place in Igatpuri and laughing his guts out, because that everything clicked. The whole right insight happened at that moment. And even in the Buddhistic tradition, the right remembrance or the right knowing is very, very important. In fact, Buddha was the first person to actually articulate it, that full enlightenment is not possible without complete recall of all. He was the first to publicly articulate it. It is always known in yoga. Complete recall of all your births. That was one of the major things he did that night he got enlightened. He just sat under the tree and he just processed the entire flow of karma from the time he was an amoeba to the time he got liberated. And all the Jataka stories are supposed to be the memories of those various lifetimes of Buddha in the previous, before he became the Buddha. So that is where they all start. At one time, when this person was ruling in Kashi, the Tathagat was born as. But the notion of Smarana, and he did one other more important thing. Again, this is Smarana in terms of, not in terms of recall, but in terms of insightful recognition. I don't like the use of memory as Smarana, because that is not true for Smaran. Smaran means insightful recognition. He got his first samadhi, and he did not fall into that trap that even today people are falling into. As soon as he got his first samadhi, he had the smarana, he had the insightful recognition, this is not the full deal. There must be something more, and he went into the next level. Then also he said this is not the full deal. Now very often we find that there are schools, there are teachers, and they have all stopped at one juncture and they are teaching that juncture as the entire teaching. In that one night, he went through the 8 levels of samadhi. To do that in one night is supernatural. It's beyond belief. But he did it. And maybe I shouldn't say this, why not? It's too delicious a story. This is a story about the mother and Rabindranath Tagore, our one and only Rabindranath. She met him in Japan. There's a very famous story of her in a kimono and him in his Old Testament robes, He was always quite a posturing type of person, growing out his hair and beard and playing the great artist and wise old prophet. Anyways, let that be. I'm not in Calcutta, so I can say it. In Calcutta, that would be grounds for a lynching. But anyways, she met him and he heard that she was interested in yoga and he was also very interested, and he communicated to her that he had attained some level, and she said, okay, that's good news. And so she sat in meditation and followed him. She followed him while he was meditating to see where he has gone, and she found that he had just come to that first stage of samadhi, which is just basically mental peace, and he thought that was it. So this was one of the reasons, as it is, many people didn't like her because he took attention away from the original group of Bengali disciples, and now she knocks the saint. But yeah, it's a common mistake that even people with genuine spiritual attainment, because they have not been trained or because they have not realized or recognized or been told about it, because they lack smarana, they don't get it that our attainment is partial. Because as long as it is attainment, it is not the full deal. If it is something that you can gain, it is not the real thing. It is something you become. Or it is not even something that you become, it is something you recognize. You always were. You always were like that. And it is just all the accretions of many lifetimes of vasana samskara, of conditioning, of social pressure, of the body, of your life experiences that are constantly veiling and blocking the truth of who you are. So Smaranath Mukti, the minute you come to that recognition of the truth of who you are free. Now, is it that simple? That's the ghastly part. Yes, it is actually that simple. And the reason why I say it's the ghastly part is because this simple thing is so difficult for people to do. This simple recognition is difficult because the mind will not accept, the emotion will not accept, the bodies will not accept. Everything in you rebels against, how can it be so simple? And all these sadhanas are basically tricks. All sadhana, all processes are basically tricks to decondition you, just to get you to accept something so simple. Because we believe that if it is not complex and if it is not convoluted, it cannot be valuable. How can it be just a matter of insightful awareness or insightful recognition and that's it? And it is actually so. Which is probably why the not very educated people like Ramakrishna and who was that? I am that, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who was also not a very educated person, they attained very easily. Because they were told, do this by the teacher, and they didn't have any complexities of learning and knowledge and life experiences. They just followed and they attained. The Smarana was very easy for them, precisely because they were not educated. Now we have to put aside all our knowledge, all our conditioning, all our life and all our expectations. Because the enlightenment must come with thunder and lightning, it cannot come quietly. It cannot be a simple matter that suddenly dawns upon you and you find that. Now, why I find this Smaranath Mukti to be so interesting and so important is that in our 8 spiritual breath system, we have what we call affirmations with every breath. But as I have already explained, affirmations is a very poor English translation for the original, and the original is Smarana. They are Smaranas. They are remembrances. They are certain aspects of truthful reality that are already within you, and you have to coax your body and your mind and your emotion to believe it. So you are kind of surface, let us surface, let it surface. It's already there, which is why we keep talking about the cellular level. How many times in our smaranas we have this business of every cell in the body, I will charge every cell in the body, because that's how deep it has gone. It's not at a skin level or a flesh level or a bone level, it's bone marrow level. It's gone that deep and we have to coax it up from that level. Smaranaath Mukti. So when we are doing our affirmations, it is not in the early stages, of course, first few months, maybe even first year, 2 years. In the early stages, we are using them as neural reconditioning. We are reconditioning how we view life, we are reconditioning how we look at things, we are re-scripting ourselves, we are changing our basic responses. All wonderful processes, but they are not smaranas. It is not insightful recognition, it is not insightful, and it is not even insightful or true memory, which is why Buddha used to insist on right recollection. Because as you know, it's perfectly easy to manufacture bullshit memories of past lives. I'm going to say it. I was holding back all these while, but I'm going to say it. Past life regression is a bloody Asura Prakriti invention. It has been created by the demonic forces to derail people. I'm just bluntly saying it. People who could have attained get trapped in this past life regression and the nonsense that comes with it, and then they are lost. Then they go right off the path. Lifetimes of effort are wasted. Now, if you had Smarana as opposed to PLR, you would never fall into that trap. But what to do? People are in love with their delusions. That's what I have realized. There is a Sufi saying that you should never take a delusion away from a person. It is like taking the cub away from the tiger. People fight to the death to defend their delusions. Anyways, but in the context of our smaranas, our affirmations, if you look at it this is describing my actual reality. I am actually functioning in a day-to-day consciousness, not in my true state, not in my true reality. These smaranas are describing my true reality. These affirmations are describing what I actually am. I am actually the yantram. I am actually the most beautiful, precise and intricate instrument in the universe. I am actually the temple of the living God, the God who is alive within me. I am actually the yantram, and not only the yantram, I am actually the kshetram, the field of transformational possibility. I am the temple. If you understand that, oh mother, boom, 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 everything starts shifting immediately. Now it's easy to understand mentally. You even feel a little thrill emotionally. Wow, we are doing such a strong and powerful process. That is not Smarana. Because when it hits you that I am the kshetram, that my body is actually the field, my body is actually the field of transformational possibility, and then you say the smaranas, you say the affirmations, or you do your breath with that notion, and then the way the Shakti enters you, and it's not even that you will be aware very often. When did I know that things had shifted? When I started going into the temples, and I immediately, at every step, outer gate, mid gate, courtyard, close by, at every step I could feel the difference in my body. I could feel the vibrational and energetic shift in my body, because my body had now become a kshetram and it was vibrate in harmony. And all temples are built on the basic plan and purpose of the human body. The chakras of the human body are worked out in the temple. Every temple is basically the cosmic man, the Purusha. Even good churches are built like that. They are also built on the principle of the primordial man, Adam Kadmon. When this clicked for me, which is why I keep saying that I have tried so many systems, and I keep finding that no matter from which method you approach, you find the answer in the breaths. It is just so magnificent. Because again, like the Siddha Yoga, we do not use external tools, we do not use external rituals, external chanting, puja vidhi, so many thousand things to be offered, so many beautiful diagrams to be drawn. There is no external focus. Everything is you have the most beautiful, magnificent and precise instrument in the universe, which is your human body. Use it. It is exactly the way the Siddha yogis of South India work. Use your own body. You don't need to do. Now, of course, it helps. A temple helps. A murti helps. You have something to focus on. Puja helps. Diya helps. I would never, in my wildest nightmares, I would never knock puja vidhi. But in the end, the puja vidhi cannot be as powerful as your own. Also, puja vidhi and things like that, if you want to do those kind of intricate pujas and havans and processes or Sri Chakra puja, you need to have a certain kind of mindset for it. You need to have a certain kind of skill set for it, which 1%, maybe 2% of the thousands of people who come to yoga will have. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. It's simple. Whereas with our breaths, with our 8 spiritual breath system, the qualities start emerging, the abilities start emerging, because we directly work with the prana. With the breath, we are inviting the prana to come from outside. We are inviting the prana shakti to rise from inside. We are directly and consistently working with the prana every day. 5 breaths descending energy, 3 breaths ascending energy. So the transformation is inevitable. If not today, then tomorrow. Now, there are certain limitations in how a person is, what the stage of health is, what the person's past life vasana samskaras have. But if you persevere, within 1 or 2 years, distinct and dramatic changes happen in people. I refuse to believe now. Previously, I used to say, okay, maybe they need more time. But now I know it's not because they need more time, it's because they are not doing the breaths. If you are doing the breaths for 2 years and you haven't shifted internally and you cannot feel that you have shifted internally, you have not been doing the breaths. You have been doing them sporadically, intermittently, or plain lying, which usually the last is the case. But let that be. Because anybody seriously doing the breaths, the way the breaths are structured and the way the smaranas are structured, the affirmations are structured, anybody doing them with remotest iota of sincerity, it will impact. Because even the affirmations are power charged, they are Shakti charged, they are not just random words that he has selected. They are words which have distinct vibrational quality. So if you are doing it sincerely, no matter how thick you are, it will get to you one day. It will start transforming you one day. Now this was, and it still is difficult, you see, because the notion that enlightenment or liberation is a very arduous business and you have to spend 20, 30, 40 years and you have to starve and suffer and freeze and risk cobras biting you and tigers eating you, and then and only then it finally comes to the point, if that is your life energy path, okay, maybe it's true, but actually it's enlightenment and liberation are just a matter of waking up. And that is the problem, isn't it? That just dropping yourself, you see, the problem is, yesterday somebody was asking, when people say my body, what do they mean? I said, they mean that they regard their body as their possession. And most people don't like their body, The relationship with the body is always, you are such a disappointment, it could have been so much better, you could have been stronger, hotter, slimmer, And then people are People are puzzled when their body doesn't cooperate with them. You are pouring scorn and contempt on the poor thing. And you are acting as if it is some kind of possession of yours, some kind of vehicle of yours, which is not giving you return on your investment. Most people don't like their body, and the people who torture it with steroids and weird kind of things and all that, and those who run and run and run and then cause hip and joint problem. Most people don't like their body. Now, you can't, okay, I am not absolving the fact of the matter that there are huge body image issues and there are huge body expectation issues in society. That's, of course, 100%. But even people who seem to have lucked out and come on the good end of the genetic lottery, even they don't like their body. Now and forget about the mind, like people are completely, they have no control over their mind, and emotion to dur ki baat. We know that. Temporary insanity is a legal valid plea, that the person just lost control of their emotion and they are not responsible for what they've done. Now you have to drop all this. You have to drop all your ideas about the mind, you have to drop all the ideas about the body, you have to drop all the ideas about the emotion, and only then you come to that Smaranath. Now when you say drop the body, people immediately think, oh, I will die, and that's not what is meant. You just have a certain erroneous notion of what your body is and what it should do for you, which is not even your notion. You picked it up watching idiots on TV, and you have an erroneous notion of what you should do with your mind and how your emotions should be. And if you can put an end to all that nonsense, or if you can even not put an end to all of it, even just right, it is the way it is, let it be. Even that much people can't do. They just can't accept themselves, and I don't mean in that very obnoxious manner where people, absolve themselves of their faults or their misbehavior by saying, but I am like that only, or God has made me like that. That is not a very mature thing to say. It means that you are just helpless object of circumstance. That's really not a very mature thing to say. But I just mean in that spiritual maturity is not possible without acceptance of your reality. This is who I am, this is what I am, and it is what it is. While that is not enlightenment, it is a definite shift in consciousness. A person who can see things, accept things just as they are, is actually quite a dangerous person, is usually a very disconcerting person, because that person tends to blurt out uncomfortable truths, and people generally don't like to be around a person who's just there, because that person cannot be triggered by all the normal social triggers, and that person cannot be quieted by all the normal social conventions. So even that much is a shift in consciousness, a very powerful shift in consciousness. But sadhana, all our sadhana, that is the other big joke. When they finally attain, they realize, oh my God, all this effort was actually, it was actually not needed. And you're right, it was actually not needed. But without doing it, you would not have got to that point. So it is the inevitable paradox. Spontaneity is not possible. True spontaneity or true creativity is not possible without immense discipline. Which is why Atha Yoga Anushasana. Anushasanam, right in the beginning, whatever is yoga, they have said very clearly, Anushasana, discipline. So all sadhana, whatever the Smarana comes with Anushasana. So the sadhana becomes your Anushasanam, it becomes your discipline. What is my discipline so that I can drop all these limitations, so that I can get beyond all this foolishness, so that I can come into my authentic state of being, so that I can live truthfully, live authentically, actually live, not live a substandard, second-hand, derived, social scripted life. Now, of course, these are all very anxiety-producing statements, because if a person starts thinking for themselves, then they might not marry who their parents want them to marry, number one. They might not take up the jobs that their family would expect them to take up. Now, all those collateral damage issues. It does not help anybody if a person is living in a cramped manner. It does not help anybody. You may think that you are buying peace for your family or your society, but it does not help anybody if a person is much less than what they could have been. And this has nothing to do with gender. This is true right across. A person who is living at a vibration much less than what their potential is, or a person who is not living at the full tilt of what they possibly can, it is not helping anybody. They actually become social nuisances later. Because if you are not working yourself out, if you are not following your swadharma, your enteleki, you know it. And then frustration happens, and after frustration, anger happens, and we all know what happens after anger. That's wandering a bit afar, but so this Smarana, this was what used to be the sort of secret of yoga. The asanas would be well known, and some of the meditative techniques would be well known, but the Smarana aspect used to be the big secret. I don't know why, but they used to keep it as a big secret, and I am saying forget it. Speak openly. And in our system, in the 8 spiritual breath systems, I can tell you, they are not aspirations. They are literal statements of fact. Whatever our Smaranas say, go back and read all 8 of them, or in fact all 9 of them, because there is one long lying down one. They are describing your truthful reality when you are at your optimum. That is, you may have noticed there is not one word about healing. Have you noticed that? Because they don't want you to be diseased. It's only if you're diseased or ill that you need to be. It's all about being optimal. It's all about being healthy. If you're healthy, there is no need to heal. This shift cannot be predicted. I cannot do it for you. You cannot do it for yourself. It is just something that happens. Though I can give you this assurance that if you keep doing the process, it will happen. There is a point when doing it, when suddenly, and it usually does not happen in any dramatic fashion. It just suddenly clicks. Everything just suddenly clicks. And the importance of that moment you will never forget, and you will be like, so where are the explosions and where is the music, and why is the world not realizing I made a breakthrough? And the world is carrying exactly as it was, and it is not in the least interested in the fact that you have shifted. But every time you shift your consciousness, the world also moves a little bit. So I suppose that's your reward. It's an internal reward, it's a secret reward, it's not a reward that anybody is very interested in, but for you it is immeasurable. But you cannot force it. You see, that is the problem. People want to find a shortcut. People want to find can you not turn it on? Can you not trigger it? No. The Smaranath process, the authentic Smarana process, cannot be done by another. Because then, to that extent, it is an external process. It is an induced process, and therefore it is not your truth. It has to come from within, and it will come. Just stick to it. But when you are doing the affirmations, don't even do them, the smaranas, when you're doing the smaranas, don't even do them as this is a state I should attain. This is already my state. I just need to wake up and realize it. Now, this might really sound like I'm really reaching, and I mean, isn't that a bit of a stretch? No, it's actually very simple. And like I say, the reasons why people cannot accept these things is just their conditionings. Their own conditionings become the Vignam. Their own Vasana Samskaras become the Vignam. All the best things are exceedingly simple. All the best spiritual things, there is no need for anything elaborate. It's just simple and to the point. So I am repeating this. The Smaranas are statements of reality. They are what you already are. You just have to get there. You just have to vibrationally come to that space. You just have to increase your prana shakti till you come to that place where you realize this was always true. This is not something I grew into. This is not something I attained. This is just something that always was true. It's tragic. I wish there was a switch, but there is no switch. If there is a switch, you have to discover it within yourself and turn it on. Complete the circuit. Yeah? Okay? Sarvam Shivamaya.